The Minister for Land and Water Conservation, George Torres, delivered the keynote address at the Water Options 2000 Forum. The theme was Water for the Future. Issues such as water shortage and availability, water in the environment and the economics of water were addressed. Mr Torres says there are many areas that need to be considered.
So we have to embrace all opportunities. Pricing is an issue, efficiency is an issue, farming practice and techniques are also issues, as well as those competing issues of equity.
The government is undertaking a $600,000 project this year for capping and piping of bores.
Capping the bores and piping of the water supply from those bores is a way of achieving up to a 90% efficiency gain.
The Water Options 2000 Forum will be the major strategy the Moree Plains Water Development Committee will undertake for the year. Amanda Bolger, NBN News.
NRMA Chief Executive Ray Willing and President Don McKay stopped briefly at the Newcastle Workers Club to sell the proposal, which sounds too good to be true. The company wants to give away $2 billion worth of shares to its 1.8 million members.
There's no catch. The company's got a huge capital base, and what we're doing is offering members $500 worth of shares free.
There'll be an extra 500 shares for policyholders, as well as additional scrip for long-term members of the Motorists Association. Newcastle's 165,000 members would share in this wealth to a minimum of $82.5 million. But that's on the proviso it gets approval by 3/4 of shareholders once the NRMA board makes its final recommendation in August. There are some worries, especially the effect of the free shares on the pensions and tax rates of some members. There's also no protection from a hostile takeover of the company once it's listed on the stock market.
I have faith in our members. Our members have been very loyal and they'll be getting the shares. I'm sure that they'll keep the shares, and that will be a very, very good protection for the NRMA into the future.
The NRMA remains confident the proposal will be passed, ensuring a windfall for members. And for non-members who want to join the queue to the NRMA gravy train, you're too late, with the proposed float only available to policyholders who joined before March 17. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
With a $100 million budget from the Building Better Cities program and a 20-year vision, honeysuckle developers are taking a slow and steady approach, and the fruits of years of planning and hard labour are now visible.
We have over $40 million worth of works actually underway, committed, and in some cases complete, which is great for us and great for the project and the city benefits.
$5.5 million is being spent on heritage restoration work in the civic precinct, another $3.7 million to restore Wickham Public School. Bringing Newcastle councillors up to date last night, Honeysuckle Chief Robert Zulo outlined plans for another 2 projects. A residential housing development proposed for the former wool sheds at Wickham, the other a multi-million-dollar recreational marina.
It'll be a mixture of marina-related activities such as commercial facilities for boats, restaurants, entertainment areas, a yacht club hopefully, residential and possibly some commercial office associated with that.
Detailed plans of both developments will go on public display mid-April. Tenders for the marina will be called within the next few months. Introduced only 5 months ago, Council claims its best practice process is yet to convert a number of unbelievers.
Well, the simplest definition of best practice is the continuous approach to seeing how you can do things better.
At a briefing for the Council last night, the Hunter Valley Research Foundation released results from the first survey carried out to measure progress. Those questioned included employees, councillors, suppliers and customers.
We've sent a productivity task of being 15% more efficient in 20 months' time, and there's some very clear measures by how we judge that.
Part of the City Enhancement Plan, the new scheme designed to produce a more efficient council, has cost $250,000. And according to the survey, some areas need urgent attention. When asked to nominate the major source of how staff found out about council activities, 1% referred to the in-house information bulletin, 25% to television reports, while 60% said the grapevine.
Communications is something that we have to do better, and we recognise that, but clearly something that we have to address, and we are.
A meeting of Newcastle Trades Hall delegates today condemned the decision of the Labor Party executive to suspend voting by the rank and file for the candidates of their choice in 2 Sydney seats.
It gets to the fundamental question of democracy, internal party democracy, and the right of people, the ordinary rank and file member, to determine who's going to represent them in Parliament.
Shadow Attorney-General Paul Whelan is the member for Ashfield and Shadow Police Minister Peter Anderson the member for Liverpool. The electoral boundaries of both men's Sydney seats have changed. The party executive believes the new composition of rank and file members in each seat won't re-endorse the 2 sitting members. The decision to suspend voting by the rank and file has sparked a backlash from both Labor members and union officials.
At the end of the day, it may be that some existing parliamentarians are defeated by rank and file vote at the grassroots level. We believe, and so be it if that happens.
This afternoon, state left-wing unions in Sydney decided to withhold hundreds of thousands of dollars in membership fees to the Labor Party unless the pre-selection row is resolved. The issue will be discussed by the party executive on April 8. A mass rally is planned to coincide with the meeting. Jane Anderson, NBN News. David Glazebrook is the author of a report which has identified 32 children in Newcastle whose needs are not being met by the Department of Community Services.
These are ones that are in the care of the department through some form of neglect or abuse.
However, he says the issue is being addressed.
Implementation plan that we've devised in Newcastle area sets out a variety of services for meeting those needs, some by physical structures such as group homes, others by more personal plans for treating or providing services to those individual children as required.
He refutes Bob Carr's claim that the situation is evidence of a major crisis in youth support services.
You well may ask for whom the bell tolls, or for whom the coda is plucked. However, these sounds rang out at Newcastle East today to herald the beginning of a new life, rather than mourn a death.
I really think that Carrington Coal Company could see that the oldest school in Australia needed support, and that the school just doesn't belong to Newcastle, it belongs to all of Australia.
To mark the new partnership between Carrington Coal and the school, a Japanese Cultural Day was held. $4,000 of the $10,000 donation will be spent on Japanese studies, as that country has strong trading links with the Carrington Company.
The children have just recently done a whole series of paintings, which in fact in 10 days' time I'm taking to Japan to present to the mayor of Mishima City for a major cultural event there, and I'm hoping to be able to in fact bring back a sister-school relationship with the school. So Japan relationship with Newcastle is going to be a focal point.
Exotic attractions such as Karate Master SS Takedo, bonsai plants and origami lessons kept the students enthralled. The corporate sponsorship deal was struck in an attempt to stop the dwindling enrolments at the school, which fell from 126 last year to just 75 this year. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News. "12-year-old Cassie Reuter won gold in the 50 metres freestyle and has been selected in the state team to compete in the National Schools Championships.
I was pretty far ahead of him when I dived in, and then I started getting pretty far ahead. I won by 3 metres.
Her friend, 11-year-old Jasmine Layton, has competed in the event for the past 3 years and narrowly missed out making the state team by a fraction of a second. The girls train 6 days a week in the hope to knock more seconds off their record time and score Olympic gold for Australia.
I'm aiming for Olympics.
Jasmine and Cassie turned to swimming to help them overcome asthma.
I've done soccer for 3 seasons, and when my asthma took up, I had to take up swimming, and then I just came out like this.
The young girls beat their illness and in the process became champions in the water. It wasn't all easy riding on Saturday night when Pine won the $10,000 event. He had qualified for pole position together with another local driver, Bob Brewer, for the first leg of the big race. However, he was penalised at the start when he was blamed for bringing the field undone. It wasn't long before Pine was again challenging the leaders and took the lead from Greg Hodges in his Falcon. Following the compulsory pit stop in the 50-lap race, Pine again fell back in the field. With 13 laps to go, he finally took the lead and kept it this time until the checkered flag. Hodges came in second with Lismore driver John Leslight third.
The murder of Margaret Howlett has shocked the community of Singleton, who knew her as a friendly and kind woman whose life revolved around her family of 7 children and 19 grandchildren. She'd lived in the town for the last 66 years, but in recent times, arthritis had confined her to a walker and she rarely left her Denali Street house.
She couldn't come outside, it was too much of a hassle for her to get around. My grandson was there the other day mowing the yard, they always mow the yard for her, but she's a nice lady.
Mrs. Howlett's family and friends were trying to come to terms with her death today. They originally thought she died as a result of a fire which alerted police to her murder. They have appealed for help in catching her killer or killers.
They just can't believe that these things happen. Could happen to our mum after we didn't think things like this could happen to a person like mum.
Police would like to talk to anyone who drove over the Denali Bridge on Saturday night between 8:30 and 10:30. They're also keen to talk to a woman in a red Laser who called 000 to bring an ambulance to the scene. A command post has been set up outside Mrs. Howlett's house, with police coordinating a search of surrounding property and the nearby Hunter River. While the post-mortem is not yet complete, preliminary results show Mrs. Howlett suffered serious head injuries, possibly inflicted by a blunt object. Police have ruled out robbery as a motive for the attack. They are yet to determine whether Mrs. Howlett was sexually assaulted.
It has been vicious, and yes, I guess in a small town like this, an assault on a woman of that age is considered to be quite distressing.
Pretty close-knit community, Singleton, especially over here in Denali. There's a lot of old people live here. You know, and just think whoever did it, it's still out there somewhere.
Holidaymakers started heading home early this morning, but the trend of building up around lunchtime and peaking late afternoon didn't eventuate.
The traffic's been constant all day. At this point in time it's flowing quite freely and we have no major problems at this time.
In the state's northwest, police report all is well on the roads. In the north, around the Hunter, the traditional bottlenecks experienced congestion. However, the opening of the F3 has alleviated some of the old problem spots. For the 4 days of the Easter break, around the region, the Central Coast heads the accident list, with the mid-north coast at the other extreme. While the most random breath tests were conducted in the Hunter, the Peel district around Tamworth had the most people charged with being over the limit. And for traffic infringements, the mid-north coast topped the list. Throughout our region, speeding charges and seatbelt infringements issued are down on last year.
I would think that people are paying attention to the media, and certainly they are being educated to comply with the rules and do the right thing.
Despite this, there's still the odd driver not taking note. In one of the worst cases, a 42-year-old driver travelling north along the F3 on the Central Coast was allegedly clocked by police at doing 199 kilometres an hour in a 110 zone. He also registered a blood alcohol reading 4 times the legal limit. The driver was arrested, charged and bailed. Some 4 hours later, the same driver was apprehended by police and registered the same blood alcohol level. While Operation Torres finishes tonight, the northern region will continue its vigilance with Operation Safe Easter 94 through till the end of the holiday break next Sunday. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
Gosford City Bushfire Brigade operates from these headquarters at the council's works depot. But did you find where you are now was a hindrance during the bushfires?
Oh, it was totally inadequate for the people we had through here and the different types of radio systems. It was totally inadequate.
The National Parks and Wildlife Service has annexed 3 hectares of Brisbane Water National Park for the new bushfire headquarters. Even though the site has several Aboriginal rock carvings, it would not pose a problem for the development.
I believe there's 3 carvings. They're on a rock shelf which we weren't going to use anyway, and I understand National Parks have resolved that issue and going to fence it off, so it'll still be available for the public to view, but there'll be no trucks or anything driving over them.
Virtually next door to the bushfire headquarters is a planned site for a Carryong fire station.
Carryong, the residential area and the industrial area is expanded, plus the New South Wales Fire Brigade's role in hazmat with the expressway. We thought we'd have to get out there to cover the industrial area and the expressway as well as the residential.
Both proposals are expected to go before Gosford Council soon and, if approved, could be in operation by next year. Jason Jornhoff, NBN News. Camp Endeavour has built up quite a reputation over the past 10 years. The annual holiday caters for physically handicapped children between the ages of 8 and 16 to enjoy a wide range of activities. The fact that they have cerebral palsy or muscular dystrophy plays no part in stopping them from enjoying their lives.
Today we've come down to go on boats and all that.
At school and stuff, it gets a bit boring. This week, through the break of Easter, I get bored at home, so it's a good break from staying at home.
Winning yesterday. Today we're just going out on the boats. Sleep, eat.
I think it's pretty good, but I can't wait until the motorbike starts.
A group of 60 volunteers take part in Camp Endeavour to make sure everything goes off without a hitch for the children. The campers will do anything from motorbike riding to sailing in the holiday, which finishes on Saturday. And is there anything the campers won't try over the week?
I'd do anything, yeah.
Okay. And what about, have you made a lot of friends here?
Oh yeah, I know a few here, these ones here, right. These kids here. Yeah, and I've met a few too, yeah.
About 20 people at the Esplanade Hotel were trying to work out who among them was the murderer.
It starts out by the host, who has invited all the people to the dinner, being murdered. And then the idea is, over the dinner, we give out a lot of secret clues and information, and basically people have got to find out who amongst their fellow diners has committed the crime.
Each player is given an outline of the character they represent in the murder, and as the night progresses, each dinner guest has their own alibis and sordid past.
In fact, there aren't many gentlemen in Paris that I do not know.
Towards the end of the night, the accusations fly thick and fast.
I hated your father, so you killed him.
No, I didn't hate him. You killed Daddy.
By the end of the night, each player has a guess at who is the murderer, what was the motive and how they did it before the killer is finally revealed. Jason Jornhoff, NBN News.
Hunter Valley horse breeder Tony Bott from Segenhoe Stud had taken 29 of his thoroughbreds to Sydney to be sold at the annual Easter sales. Within a matter of hours yesterday, 5 of them were dead. It's believed botulism, a lethal form of food poisoning, may have killed them.
We haven't been able to pinpoint where it might have arisen from at this stage, and also we haven't diagnosed exactly what it is. Apparently botulism has a number of 7 different strains.
One of the horses which died had been sold for $110,000. Tony estimates the other 4 would have gone under the auctioneer's hammer for between $50,000 and $200,000.
The sale has been very strong. It's 40% up on last year, so it's been a little bit hard to value some of the top lots.
Although the yearlings were insured, Tony says they were worth more than just money.
It's not like losing a bit of machinery. They can be fixed or replaced. Horses are a living, breathing thing, and most people in the horse game are there for varying reasons, but underlying factor probably the love of the animal.
Post-mortems are being carried out on the horses. The results won't be known for about a week. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
The best of mates left Newcastle Harbour 18 days ago in an attempt to become the first 2-man crew to sail around the country unassisted. The Hunter Endeavour provided the means to achieve that aim, but now it has the more important job of keeping Tony and Maury safe as they approach their greatest test. They're sailing into a tropical low just off Western Australia's top end, with the yacht expected to be barreled by winds reaching up to 200 kilometres an hour. The low is expected to develop into a full-blown cyclone by midnight. But both men were in good spirits when we talked to them this afternoon, with just one aim: to get out of danger as soon as possible.
We're very mindful of that at present. The low is around about 240 miles north of us. We're moving southwest and it's moving west. We're trying to get out of its way as quickly as we can.
The beer supply is holding up and they're getting used to the dry food, but the hardest thing to come to terms with is the separation from family and friends.
The thing that I miss most is my children, my 2 little children.
And what's the first thing you're going to do when you get back?
Give them a big hug and a kiss.
And hopefully that reunion isn't too far off, with the crew due back in early May. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
With Gunnedah dropping out of contention and a series of new players on the 4 remaining sides, it's difficult to predict what this year holds in store. While retaining last year's coach John Maguire, undefeated champions Oxley Vale Tunga have recruited 4 new players, and midfielder John Barnden has taken on the goalkeeping duties. Despite displaying some excellent footwork, rivals Hillview managed to steal a goal before the end of the first half. Having lost several team members, North Companions have taken on 3 players from last year's Gunnedah side. After winning the minor premiership 3 years running, Norths will be looking to secure the championship this year under new coach Des Saunders. Meanwhile, it'll be a new-look RSL team taking to the park this season. The green and gold side had the most number of changeovers in the off-season.
The new agreement marks a stronger relationship between the 2 institutions. Today's honour going to Newcastle Uni's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Raoul Mortley, and Chairman of the Central Coast Area Health Service, Professor Don George. In the past, Newcastle Uni students studying medicine and health sciences have gained valuable clinical experience in hospital care and general practice at Gosford. The new arrangement will further strengthen those links.
It means that extra facilities are ultimately provided and the quality of medical care can improve because of the skills of the academic staff. So it's both a bigger teaching role for preparation of doctors and also to improve the health facilities.
Developments at the hospital will include an increase in the number of clinical placements, joint research projects and the creation of a clinical dean of the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences to be based at Gosford. And given Newcastle University's international reputation for training medical staff, it's a welcomed partnership on both sides.
I think that's particularly good for us and our approach to community health, that the development has been made with that university med school and not one of the others in the state.
The heavy use of the road was highlighted as the minister was forced to dodge vehicles to inspect the renowned traffic black spot. 26,000 vehicles pass through the roundabout daily, but not all safely. More than 50 vehicles have failed to negotiate the turns or exits in the last 2 years and have crashed. Heavy vehicles have the worst record as they try to steer their long and heavy loads through the roundabout. But Mr Baird says there is nothing wrong with the roundabout, it's the way it's used. He says too many people speed, don't look or simply don't know the road rules. Signs will be erected to warn drivers to slow down and exits will be signposted.
I think we need to look at some engineering solutions to the problem and understand initially we're going to be using chevron screens to identify the turns more.
Minister Baird also announced a study into Maitland's rail and road links. A committee consisting of road users, the RTA and council will investigate the city's transport system over the next 6 months. One early suggestion, supported by local member Peter Blackmore, is an extension to the city's rail facilities, including a $4 million station at Metford.
This survey will show the interest that is there, and of course we want to try and encourage people to use rail now.
Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Well done, mate. Okay, mate. How's his arms going?